Next, I'm pleased to be able to introduce Congressman Tom Emmer, representing Minnesota's 6th District and a member of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. As a proponent of blockchain technology and its applications, Congressman Emmer has compared the emerging technology to the early days of the internet, calling it an incredible fertile ground. Congressman Emmer has been at the forefront of issues impacting our industry, and he most recently joined an effort with the co-chairs of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus, where they wrote a letter to both the SEC and the CFTC to advocate for a light touch virtual currency regulation. So please join me in welcoming Congressman Emmer.
Well, hello. Hello. I'm sorry, I'm just a Minnesota kid, so when we do that, we expect people will say hello back, which is kind of interesting because I come to Washington, D.C., and I do this when I walk down the hallway. I'll say, good morning, good morning. I don't know what it is about Washington, D.C. Instead of saying good morning, what I get back is, how are you? And I'm thinking, do you really want to know? I mean, where do I start? So today we're here to have a little fun about a topic that you'd think that somebody my age might not be in tune with. I know that you had my good friend Dave Schweikert here this morning from Arizona. This is something that Dave's been involved in, I think, most of his professional career in one form or another. Not so with me. I got involved when I came here to Congress, and what I'm going to do is I put my thoughts on paper because like some people that you've had here today, if I put a headset on and went out here and started a freewheel with this thing, I'd just keep going because it's that interesting a topic to me. But there's a really important message that I'd like to deliver today about the relationship of what is a new frontier in the world and government. It's kind of a warning. So first, thank you to Perry Ann. Thanks for the great invitation. And a special thanks to the Chamber of Digital Commerce for inviting me to be with you today. I also want to thank you for hosting this DC Blockchain Summit. It really is an honor to be here. I want to harken back to 1999 when Milton Friedman actually predicted the following, quote, I think the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that soon will be developed, is reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or without B knowing A. He was right, and we have arrived. We're here. Blockchain technology has exploded in its popularity, capturing the intention and imagination of individuals around the world. From Finland to Japan and in my home state of Minnesota, everywhere the blockchain technology is being used, and there are lessons to be learned. As with any new innovation and the applications that are associated with it, there are potential benefits and potential unknowns. While blockchain is a unique innovation, despite Milton Friedman's prediction long ago, as this amazing technology continues to grow and permeate every sector of our national and global economy, there are lessons to be learned, and there will be policy issues relating to liberty, privacy, security, and consumer protection, just to name a few. These will need to be addressed by not just individuals in the private sector, which some of us would prefer, but by lawmakers and agencies of government at the federal, state, and local levels. As the blockchain technology and its applications grow, Congress and our federal agencies need to have a better understanding of the benefits and challenges presented to ensure, and this is my opinion, but it's a strong one, the lightest regulatory touch possible. After all, this relatively new and exciting technology is all about empowering the individual. I believe we've entered a new age in human history. We might call this new age or new frontier that we've entered the technological age. Much like the agrarian age and the Industrial Revolution, the technological age has the potential to totally change how we live and grow. Large cities developed on major waterways during the agrarian age to move produce. These cities grew even more during the industrial age with the growth of factories and the concentration of labor. Our federal, state, and local governments grew in corresponding fashion to provide the level of services demanded by a growing and more concentrated population. As society became more centralized, the rights of the individual arguably became more and more subservient to the rights of the whole, or in other words, maybe better words, the individual's rights became less important to the overall needs or than the overall needs of the community. Now, because of innovations like the blockchain technology, we appear to be on the verge of a decentralization of our society. Is it possible that someday, in the not too distant future, people, regardless of their need for goods and services, will be able to live anywhere they desire and still have access to the goods and services that they desire? Is it plausible that someday soon our aging population will be able to live, in essence, independently with the assistance of 3D printers, robotics, and virtual access to health care? The potential and possibilities go well beyond our imagination. While we live in exciting times, times of incredible innovation and advancement in technology, those of us in government must be vigilant to protect not only the individual's privacy and security, but, in my opinion, most importantly, the freedom of every individual to access and utilize this exciting technology to its full potential, and perhaps even more importantly, to the greatest benefit, personal benefit possible, without the crushing interference of government or bureaucrats that might seek to protect their centralized authority. While some would like to believe that the blockchain technology should be allowed to exist with absolutely no government involvement, that is not reality. There does need, and we will need, some government oversight and regulation, again, to protect the right of the individual. The challenge, or perhaps stated better, our goal, should be to find the proper balance between our desire to foster further innovation and protect individual rights and freedom, with the appropriate and reasonable government oversight and regulation. If those of us in government need an example of why finding the appropriate balance is so important, the origin and growth of the internet is a perfect case study. This new frontier ushered in the first digital revolution in the 1990s, and we, and by we, I mean Congress and federal regulators, are still working to strike an appropriate balance between government involvement and allowing the technology to flourish unencumbered. Despite its early stages, blockchain and other distributed ledger innovations are facing similar but equally pivotal questions regarding the present and future growth of the industry and the role government should play. For instance, we know that one of the important benefits realized by the development and use of blockchain is its ability to eliminate the middleman in transactions. Through the use of blockchain, digital currencies are now raising fundamental questions about our government's relationship to money versus its primary duty, which is supposed to be serving the interests of the people. Government policymakers must resist the call to legislate and regulate blockchain technology simply because of the current volatility in the global markets. We should remember, since it's only a few years ago, that the blockchain technology as we know it today only emerged as a means of transfer, to transfer value at a time when our economy was facing a massive crisis. I believe our lawmakers and government agencies must always keep in mind how the blockchain technology has and can empower citizens in every country to participate and prosper in the world economy, and how those people outside of the United States and other countries have more freedom when they are less vulnerable to their government's ability to pick winners and losers and cause political unrest or hyperinflation. As I alluded to earlier, another quality of the blockchain technology that naturally draws me to this subject is the transparency and decentralization that has followed early blockchain applications. As someone who is deeply concerned about the information our government is able to gather about its citizens, often without our knowledge, an immutable public record provides an incredible amount of freedom of information, much like the internet. I believe open source and decentralized applications of blockchain technology will enable transparency in industries with ambiguous administrative costs, royalties, and processing fees. At a time when we are asking how much oversight the government should have to keep us safe, we should also ask how these extensions of our liberty can best be protected by, and in some cases from, government. Congress's role is both pivotal and evolving. Deciding the proper role of government in this new industry is bigger than the jurisdiction of any one committee or caucus. To date, congressional committees in both chambers have held hearings on what the advent of blockchain means for our banking and finance communities, as well as our nation's science, technology, and commerce sectors. These hearings serve as important educational opportunities for both members and congressional staff on the most recent blockchain developments. As informative as these hearings may be, many people might assume the underlying intent is to determine how best to regulate blockchain and its affiliated innovations. That isn't necessarily the case. For example, last month, the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology held a hearing in which Charles Romaine from the National Institute of Standard Technology testified about the work his organization has done to establish test beds for blockchain technology. Called a workbench, these test beds are being used as a platform for research for federal agencies to experience the technology firsthand. Innovations like this will be incredibly important to helping government better understand and use blockchain, especially given the fact that the average age in Congress is 59 years old. Let the record state that while I had a birthday last weekend, I still pull that average down just a little bit. What's more, the General Services Administration has actually gone beyond ideas of potential use cases and has established a working proof of concept that has resulted in the first federal contract to utilize blockchain technology. Since then, GSA has received more than 300 inquiries regarding federal, state, and local government use cases. The GSA serves as a hub for government applications of innovative technologies, including blockchain technologies, artificial intelligence, and virtual or augmented reality. It also hosts an interagency emerging citizen technology action meeting to share information about more efficient or productive applications. In Congress, the bipartisan Congressional Blockchain Caucus, led by my colleagues Dave Schweikert and Jared Polis, has become an asset for engagement, serving as a platform for industry and government to come together to study and understand the implications of the blockchain technology. As a member of the caucus, I can attest that there are a number of members on both sides of the aisle who believe Congress should be a bridge between industry and government in this discussion to foster collaboration and ensure competitiveness around the globe. Just recently, I led a letter with the chairs of the Blockchain Caucus to the SEC and the CFTC to thank and encourage the continuation of a light touch approach to regulation, following their encouraging testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last month. The SEC and the CFTC's light-handed approach to regulation so far is welcome. It is also, I believe, incredibly important. There's no question that bad actors in this space need to be held accountable. But my discussions and meetings on this subject so far have shown the vast majority of enterprising individuals involved with the blockchain technology are simply asking for clear rules of the road. That's why any legislation or regulation pertaining to distributed ledger technology should be straightforward, simple, and narrowly tailored to specific applications of the technology. I am optimistic that through the caucus's continued engagement, as well as more education on Capitol Hill, we can develop more blockchain-savvy public servants, people who better understand these emerging technologies and the opportunity that blockchain-based solutions can provide to some of our generation's most challenging problems and for our future. Nevertheless, as these innovations and the new solutions have potential to make government operations more efficient and improve the delivery of public services, there are potential risks that must be addressed, as we've discussed a little bit earlier: key security, data portability, consumer safety, and ill-defined registration requirements. Addressing these issues is where it becomes paramount that the federal government does not fall short in the proper treatment of blockchain. Take, for example, the Internal Revenue Service's initial 2017 order that Coinbase, the digital currency exchange now with more than 10 million accounts, disclose the account information and transaction history of every user with a Coinbase account. This far-reaching request, as you all know, I expect, ultimately was scaled back. Nevertheless, that type of action can run counter to our notions of government restrictions on private information. In addition, since these transactions involve a publicly available, immutable underlying distributed ledger technology, the personal information and analytics that become available when substantial portions of the information are handed over to the federal government become far more concerning than traditional IRS disclosures. Consider this as well. In the United States, we have the Treasury, OCC, FDIC, NCUA, SEC, CFTC, FHFA, FCA, FTC, CFPB, FinCEN, and one that has evaded DC's dreaded acronym SOUP, the Federal Reserve, all somehow involved in blockchain industry regulation. Think about that for a second. I tend to subscribe to the school of thought which believes anytime there is more government involvement, there tends to be more problems. Having a dozen or more federal agencies regulating one industry, to me, is a problem. And if we're not careful, too much bureaucratic red tape will present its own challenge to the growth and success of this new technology. It's my hope that Congress continues to look internally and externally for ways to mitigate these challenges, while fostering a working relationship for regulators to develop consistent and targeted ways to engage with this emerging industry. As I speak to you today, other countries are embracing the technology, and in some cases beating us to the punch. Recently, we saw the European Union's plans to develop financial technology standards across its member countries as a means to let these technologies flourish. Japan has prioritized one agency, the Financial Services Agency, to deal with blockchain regulation. By streamlining their system, this makes it easier for the industry to understand and interface with regulators and ensure undue rules or regulatory hurdles do not get in the way of innovation. Compared with our swamp soup of multi-letter agencies, I'll leave it to you to decide which system provides simplicity and certainty to those willing to invest. These examples boil down to one simple message. The United States must keep pace if it is to continue to be a hub for blockchain innovation and growth. If we do, we can capture the best of blockchain and the potential benefits that will follow, which I believe will dramatically transform not only our financial services sector, but every aspect of our economy and ultimately our society. As an example, outside of the financial services sector, we can just look to healthcare. As we know, the United States healthcare system is facing a series of crises for a number of reasons. We know we can do better. And blockchain technology could be just the innovation to help us get there. Minnesota is home to the largest healthcare innovation hub in the country. Our state is a place where people from around the globe come to receive some of the finest healthcare the world has to offer. One proposal utilizing blockchain offers exciting new opportunities regarding the management of patient information in electronic health records, or EHRs. Ensuring doctors and healthcare professionals have a patient's full record in a timely and organized manner is critical to improving patient care and outcomes. But imagine if blockchain gave patients control of their healthcare. Just this week, we learned that researchers at Harvard have found a way to let individuals access and control their genomic data utilizing blockchain technology. Enabling patient control of their digital identity and with whom and to what extent their information is shared would empower patient-centered decisions, potentially resulting, again, in better patient outcomes. In addition to the healthcare application, we might also look to the work being done at IBM in regard to blockchain technology and food safety. Along with a coalition of 12 companies, IBM is using blockchain technology to improve food safety. Specifically, their technology allows them to quickly pinpoint the source of a contamination, reduce the impact of food recalls, and limit the number of people who get sick or die from foodborne illness. With 400,000 people dying from foodborne illnesses every year, this work is critical, and the potential application of the blockchain technology is huge. Jerry Cuomo, the Vice President of Blockchain Technologies for IBM, who spoke here last year, recently testified at a congressional hearing on other blockchain projects happening at the company. They're tackling a diverse profile with industries such as supply chain, government, healthcare, travel and transportation, chemicals and petroleum, insurance, and more. Optimistically, Mr. Cuomo also noted how some American companies are leading the way by incorporating blockchain into the way they do business and with potentially transformative results. If we do this right, the growth and adoption of blockchain technology represents the very best of America: confidence, leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation. If we do this right, we'll move forward into a new era of emerging technology, one with endless possibilities. But if our government instead decides to impose its vision of what the future of innovation will look like for this new technology, that's when America loses its opportunity for the second digital revolution. So I conclude with, let's do this right. Thank you again for having me today.